What's going on, everybody? It is Nathan with Dimension 119. We are actually doing some multitasking here. We're recording a podcast episode while we stream. We have actually begun streaming now. I'm trying to stream when I can just to get a little practice because we have some exciting news. I think we've talked about it before on the podcast where in November I will be streaming a charity stream and be running a game. So I'm trying to get some practice messing with OBS and just kind of practice making overlays for streams and things like that, so that when I do the actual stream and run a D&D game, I'm hopefully a little better than I am right now. As you've seen when we first started, I completely forgot to turn on the mic as I went to the actual camera screen. And if you're listening to the podcast, I know you can't see any of this, but if you want to jump onto Twitch and check out the VOD, or at some point I'll have it uploaded on YouTube as well, you can check it out there and find all of our links to all of our other stuff. As you know, if you follow the podcast already, you know at the end of the episode you'll get a little snippet of where you can find all the social media links, the Linktree link and all that stuff. I am working on getting all of that set up in Twitch. So if it's not there now, if you just want to search Dimension 119 in pretty much anywhere, any social media site, or if you want to go to your podcasting site where you listen to your podcast and search Dimension 119, you can find it there as well. And the description in that will have the Linktree link. 1 second. I need to get a new chair. My hydraulics are kind of going out in this one, I guess, and it is bottoming out on me every so often. So, what are we doing today in this episode of Dimension 119? We are going to be prepping said charity stream. I've got some ideas from other people in one of the Discord groups I'm in, and we're going to put some of those together and just do some prep together on the stream. I've got a Google Doc up, nothing on it right now, it's a blank page. I'm going to go over to Discord here in just a minute and grab some of those ideas and paste them into the Google Doc. We may roll some dice because we've got a pretty interesting monster to build. So let's get rolling. So the first thing I'm going to do, and like I said, I'm going to talk all this out, so don't worry, podcast. You're not missing out on anything other than watching letters pop up on a Google Doc, because I'm going to be talking through all this as we go, so you won't miss out on anything. I'm not going to be like, well, you can read this here. Well, you're going to hear it, I promise. So, let me grab my Discord ideas really quick. I didn't want to put all this in the doc beforehand because I want to be able to go over it and read through it and things like that. So let me find the start of all of it and wow, we did a lot more idea stuff than I remembered. Here we go. So I'm just going to grab all of this and we'll clear out what we don't need here in just a second. Let's grab all of this. That's a whole lot. Let's paste it. There we go. So we may or may not use some of this. We're gonna get rid of. I'll go through this in a minute, and we'll check and see what we need in a minute. Basically, the bare bones of what we have right now is we have a session taking place in a place called Raven's Loft. Or Raven's Roost, I'm sorry. I don't even know my own town names in my own world. This is going to be taking place in Raven's Roost. Raven's Roost is located in the center of the Eagle's Nest Mountains. The Eagle's Nest Mountains is a circular mountain range that has like one main pass on one side of it. I have to look at my map to get my orientation. I think it's on this. Never eat sour watermelons. I think it's on the southwest side, if I remember correctly, on my map. I think it's on the southwest side. It's the main pass line. And that's not to say that there aren't other passes through the mountains, but that's the main pass there. This town is situated pretty much in the center of these mountains, bordering the backside of the mountain opposite the pass is a wall, a big giant magical wall that I don't have a name for yet. It is built up to kind of keep out the denizens of the Crimson Wood. The Crimson Wood is on the other side of the wall, opposite. You got the Crimson Wood, you got the wall, you got the Eagle's Nest Mountains, and in the middle of the mountains, you've got Raven's Roost. So the whole thing of it is the Crimson Wood is a corrupted, some would call it an evil place. It basically is. No one's really sure what's happened there and what's caused this wood to be there. If you've listened to the podcast before, or you follow any of my stuff on Facebook, or you're part of any of the Discord groups I'm in, or anything like that, you've likely heard of the Crimson Wood, and you probably know what it is. So we'll kind of push that to the side, and we don't have to really worry about explaining that right now. The whole premise of the game that we're working on right now is going to be that the Crimson Wood has somehow found a way past the wall and has crept through or over the mountains and is now wreaking havoc on Raven's Roost. Now, our adventurers do not know that. Our adventurers are being sent there. I'm debating on a couple of different reasons. One reason being kind of tying it into kind of doing a tie-in or kind of a test run or a hint to a campaign that I want to do, where a band of adventurers have to collect pieces of a great axe and put it together, and they eventually release the big bad evil guy. So I'm debating on whether this session takes place where the adventurers have to go find that final piece or a major piece of said axe, and the Crimson Wood is trying to get it back from them, because whoever will be released by the Great Axe wants it back so they can be released by the Great Axe. The second option is I'm kind of leaning more towards the second option because it's a little less complicated and it fits. I think maybe it fits a little bit better with what's going to happen in the actual session. The second option is that there's been tale of weird, strange things happening in Raven's Roost, and the adventurers are sent to look into it and find out, because they know that this town has a couple of special qualities, as well as this town is like one of the first defenses, one of the first outposts to either staunch or warn of the forest encroaching this direction. Now, there is more on the other side of the wood, and to either other side of the wood that they that has to be dealt with later. But as far as this direction goes and towards the mountains go, this is the best place and the most likely place that the Crimson Wood would try to encroach or grow if it does. So this is kind of an outpost. It's not necessarily built for an outpost for that, but it is kind of an outpost to have, so people have warning if this forest does this. So I think we're going to go with that. So let's hop over into the Google Doc real quick and start. Now you can see if you're on Twitch, or if you're watching the YouTube video, or if you're watching the VOD on Twitch, now you can see what I was talking about by saying we have a whole lot of stuff. I mean, look at all of this that we have that we talked about and brainstormed. That's 13 pages worth of that. So we're going to leave that there because there are some ideas out of here that I want to pick up. But for now, one second, my computer's caught and I would like to pull it closer to me. Oh no, unplugged it. There we go. All right, so we're going to start off here and adventurer, RERS. Yes, adventurers sent to town. Adventurers sent to town to investigate strange happenings. Okay. I can't spell. Okay. So now we've got adventurers sent to investigate strange happenings. I'll just go ahead and put, don't necessarily need this, but we're going to put it Raven's Roost. Okay. So I've thought about kind of the option of both, but since we're going with the investigating the strange happenings, what we're going to do, to the players, I guess is the best way to say it, is when they get there, when they arrive at the town, I'll have to come up with a bit of a description for the town. I haven't decided exactly what it looks like and all that stuff yet. I'm considering trying to either have a map made or find a way to make my own map so we can have a map of the town for the session. But if that comes about, that comes about. So since we're going with this, what we're doing to the players is when they get there, this town seems perfectly normal. Whatever it looks like, however I describe it. If I get some ideas, we'll put that in the doc as well. But right now, when they get to Raven's Roost, the town looks and seems perfectly normal. So when they arrive, town looks and seems normal. Okay. All right. However, we know, because we're prepping this session, that this town is not normal. That something's wrong, because the Crimson Wood has already encroached on this town. Now, it is trying to take over. It is trying to grow stronger. It is trying to spread its influence. Water break. I got 2 more of those to get in for plasma tomorrow. It is trying to expand its influence. It's trying to grow. It's trying to get more denizens. Every time I do this, my nose gets stopped up and runs. I don't know why. Probably because I haven't taken my allergy medicine today. Anyways, it is trying to grow and expand its influence and get more denizens, grow stronger. I don't want to say that the wood wants to take over the world, because I don't think of it like that. I think of it more as just a consuming force, like whatever the big bad evil thing person is that's kind of caused this. 1 second. Sorry about that. Dogs decide to go crazy. Anyways, so whatever the big bad evil guy doesn't matter so much for this session, but whatever it is, the woods are just kind of, because of it, are just kind of a growing, consuming force in my mind. They're just kind of trying to encroach on the world. Not necessarily, this is not necessarily like a world domination type thing. This is just a consuming force. Like, it's a force that spreads. I mean, look at a place. Go look at an abandoned place that's been left to the elements. Look that up on YouTube, or look up pictures on Google or whatever of a place that has been left to the elements, and look at how the forest and nature tries to reclaim it. That's kind of what this forest does, just in a kind of menacing, kind of evil way. This town is, simply because I decided to just simply because I got the Ravenloft D&D book, and it's been my favorite book by far that I've bought. But simply because I got that book and looked through it and was inspired by a lot of stuff in it, and saw the Were Ravens, I've wanted to use those or play one ever since I seen that. So I decided I wanted the players to face Were Ravens in this town as kind of the denizens of the wood when everything started going nuts and going crazy. I since read up on Were Ravens, and they're kind of more of a good leaning character, a good leaning race, lycanthrope, whatever. So I didn't want to just, obviously anything can be bad, but I didn't want to just take that and just completely throw that out the window and just be like, oh, I'm taking this lore and I'm gonna wad it up and I'm gonna throw it away. So I'm kind of staying true to that, because the people of this town, the large majority of the people from this town, are in fact Were Ravens. They kind of, I won't say they keep to themselves, because this is not like a secret town. This is not like a town that no one ever comes to or anything like that. But because Were Ravens are a little, from what I understood from the book, they're a little less prone to spreading that form of lycanthropy. So I kind of have them right now in my world where they're kind of secluded in this town. That being said, we're going to go ahead and add that to the Google Doc real quick. Most of town's people are wear ravens. So, here's the kicker. As the Crimson Wood has gotten over the wall for whatever reason. I'll decide on that. I haven't decided if it's broken or if it just got through the magic or what. I'll figure that out at some other point. Who knows, it may come to me during this session. But I've decided that as it has crept into this town, unbeknownst to the players and unbeknownst to the outside world as of yet, it has corrupted some of the people that are left. Now, I'm not going to kill an entire town. I'm not going to kill off an entire town. I'm not going to get rid of an entire town. Some of the people have gotten out. Some of the people noticed this and got out. Now, they may be just in some of the mountains. They may still be traveling to and running to different areas. They may be so scared right now that they haven't told anyone. They may be just, like I said, hiding in the mountains. Some of the townsfolk have escaped. I'm debating on, I probably will have some normal townsfolk still in the town that the players have to save if that comes up. But that's something we're going to play by ear. But as the players enter the town, like I said, it's going to seem normal. It's going to seem straight up. It's going to seem like just a normal town. And hopefully the players and the characters will kind of wonder, why are we being sent here if everything's okay? And, they may have some suspicion, whatever. I want to do some RP at the beginning. Now I get it. It's a one shot, so there won't be, I won't roll super heavy on it. But I want the beginning of the session to be kind of role play. And what I hope happens, it's going to be up to the players really. But what I hope happens is they start role playing with different people and interacting with the town, and I can start peppering in weird little things, like somebody walking backwards down the street, something that's like, well, it's kind of weird, but it's not completely unheard of, I guess. Maybe somebody talking to themselves, or just not start off small. Start off with things that if you were put yourself in these adventurous shoes. If you were even if you weren't an investigator, you're just a normal person. You're you, and you're going to visit some place, and before you get there, you're going to visit, I don't want to say hospital because that's an abandoned hospital because that's already creepy anyways. You're going to visit some historical site you've never been to before, and your friend or someone someone high up tells you like, hey, there's been some really weird stuff happen there, like just be careful. And that's pretty much the extent of it. And you get there and you see some people walking backwards, and you see somebody off in the corner talking to himself, or herself or whatever. Like, it's gonna give you the heebie-jeebies. Walking backwards in and of itself is not crazy necessarily, and talking to yourself is not necessarily crazy to a certain extent. But couple that with the whole something weird's going on here, and those two items can be pretty creepy. Anyways, so I'm gonna pepper little things like that. Maybe have some guy lagging, and what I mean by lagging is have some person like standing up against a building just walking. Like he's trying to walk through the building, but he's stuck on the building walking. Like you'd have in video games when you lag or whatever. And if the players don't really look into certain things, or if they roll checks and they fill their checks, slowly start upping it more and more and more and more. And, have some person screaming, or, some weird cries, have weird sounds happen. Let there be whispers on the wind, whatever it may be. One of the items in our dock here, let me see if I can find it. Because I want to make sure I keep this one because I really liked it. That's information about the Crimson Wood. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna grab this first. This is not the one I'm looking for, but this is what I want. So I'm going to paste that there. And I'll read, don't worry, podcast, I'll read that to you in a second. The reason why I'm not reading it yet is because I know we're not using that spot yet. But it's something we'll get to very, very shortly because it's something coming up soon. Anyways, I can't find it now. I know it's in here. There it goes. As I'm saying I can't find it, I find it. Let's grab these and go back up to the top. And we're gonna paste this one. Don't worry, podcast, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm just getting this lined up so that I can read it succinctly. All right, so one of the things that someone suggested that I thought was a really good idea, and I really want to use it, is that red moss. It's this fuzzy red molder moss. I'm going to move this one up here. That this fuzzy red molder moss will grow where these things step. And by things, I'll get to what they look like here in a bit. That may be where some of the podcast people lose out, because I'm going to try to pull up a picture of these things. Actually, I'm going to work on that right now. Let me setting up my thing here for that. That way I can show you guys in a minute. I'm gonna hide it. I know you're seeing it now. Whoop. Hide that. I know, you're excited already. I get it. I am too. I'm gonna put it there. I should have thought about this beforehand, but I didn't. So I'm just positioning it there, and I'm gonna drag it below this. That way I can switch it back on in a second. It's easier for me to do it that way than do it any other way. Anyways, so actually, looking at time, because we're recording a podcast, we're gonna have to go to break really quick because I've only got 30 minutes of recording time on the podcast. So let me switch over to my break screen. I'll grab another drink of my water, and we will get back here in just a second and continue where we were just at. I could have just done that during the break. Oh well. We'll be back in just a moment. don't tell the podcast people, but I'm being ridiculous and realize that I'm doing all this changing where the stream can see it because I'm still learning how to stream. So, just bear with me here. Let me add my other image, and then I guess we don't have to act like it didn't happen, but I forgot that it won't stay on break screen while I add this stuff. So I'm going to add it. You guys get just a sneak peek of all this. I'm going to add all this here. And then one more. So I know. I'm new to all this, so I'm working on it. I'm doing my best at figuring out how to add stuff on the fly that I forgot to add and things like that. So just bear with me. It's something else too that I should have said sooner, probably in I guess in one of my first videos that I did, my first streams, because I've done a couple just kind of as practice. But something I should have mentioned is that one thing I do on the podcast and one thing I like to do just kind of in general is kind of behind the scenes. Like, I'm not saying there won't ever be any editing or anything like that, but I like to leave a little bit of I like to show a little bit of what's going on to the viewers or to the listeners, because maybe it'll help them learn. I don't want to take away from the immersion necessarily, but I don't want to take away from the magic of the immersion and all that stuff. But I also want people to see that side, that especially at the beginning right now where I'm at, that not everything's perfect, that I'm learning as I go, that I didn't start being perfect, that I didn't start being amazing. I'll never be perfect, but that I didn't start being good at this. I started by saying I was going on break and then forgetting that I can't add stuff to the live stream while on a break screen. Now, there may be a way to do that. I don't know how to do that yet. So maybe I'll figure that out at some point and you guys can see that happen and see me be able to add stuff on the fly without seeing this and being on the break screen. Who knows? That being said, we are going to go back to the break screen again real quick, and we are going to so I can get the next portion of the podcast set up so we can keep recording. I will be right back. And we're back. Short time, and I said I was going to get a drink of water and I didn't, so I'm going to do that now. It's a little short break time. One second. All right. Little sneeze break there. So, podcast, you guys don't know this because I screwed up when we went to break for the stream, and I already explained this to the stream. I'll explain it to you as well. If you have been following the podcast before now, you know that one of the things I do is kind of leave some of the bloopers in, some of the mess ups in. Not for laziness, not for not wanting to edit, but because I want to show that not everybody starts good at this. Something I've seen with certain people is some people are just like they're already good at this when they start, and that's what made me be afraid to start, because I didn't want to start horribly and not get anywhere. Ooh, my nose is stopped up now. Anyways, that being said, the stream got a look at the pictures before I brought them up, because I tried to add a separate page to the stream where you could see the pictures of the Ravens and my kind of inspiration for some of this stuff. Now, obviously, if you go back and watch the VOD or watch the video, if you get on Twitch and watch it or on YouTube and watch it, you can see the same mess up that I had on there on the stream. Accidentally pulled down the break screen and started editing with no sound, and then realized what I was doing because I caught the stream out of the corner of my eye and turned the mic back on and talked to them for a few minutes. Anyways, that being said, we were talking about the corrupted were-ravens and the fuzzy moss. So something I thought about doing with the whole moss thing is, like, as they get more and more suspicious, start to show more stuff like that. Show some red moss growing around the area. Show some red leaves, fluttering in the wind or laying on the ground or something like that, where even though it's not the time, like, these aren't red autumn leaves, these are distinctly from, like, the crimson wood, which normally doesn't happen. It starts sprinkling through things like that. And I haven't figured out exactly what the trigger will be yet. Maybe them, like, flat out asking, or maybe having them roll some kind of check to see if they can figure this out. But eventually, when they figure out what's going on and figure out that this town has been corrupted, I think I'm going to describe as this wave, like a reverse wave of red leaves. Like, if you're on the Twitch stream or you're watching the VOD, you can see in the Google Doc that we have up that a suggestion that someone gave me was, where'd it go? This is the one we pulled up earlier. I definitely think it would be cool to see those red leaves moving like a flood over the mountains and into the streets. So I'm going to kind of flip that on its ear and do a reverse of that. I'm going to take the red leaves when they figure this out, and I'm going to have it, like, suck up from the ground and through the streets as like a reverse wave. And it's going to coalesce into this big roiling wave of leaves on top of the mountains, and it's going to sit over the town on top of the mountains as if it's waiting to crash back down. And if the players fail, it's going to wash back down over the town. If they succeed, then it'll recede and possibly disappear. Who knows? That being said, once they figure this out, and that wave is pulled back up and it's sitting menacingly over the town and watching and waiting to crash back down, once that happens, then the real shitstorm starts. That's when everything goes balls to the wall, nuts crazy, right? That's when things go bad. So I'm hoping at this point they will either be in an area with several people, or they will be walking the streets with some type of guide, and basically they're going to see something similar to what you guys seen a minute ago, which I will pull up here. They're going to see something similar to the ones here. My right flipped left. I gotta get used to that because it's mirrored. So they're gonna see something similar to these guys. Don't Worry Podcast, I'm fixing to describe kind of what my version is gonna be like. Now, like I said, if you're interested in seeing my inspiration, grab the VOD or get on Twitch and check it out. Anyways, so they're gonna be like twisted versions of ravens. See, I already did it backwards. These guys up here, my mic's blocking my finger, above my head, these are the were-ravens. Kind of, I don't think this is a picture actually from the book, but these are were-ravens normally. They look like a humanoid raven. You know, they've got the wings, you know, the beak, the face, they've got the talons and all that stuff. But they've got arms as well. They can wield weapons. Even in the book it says they prefer to use weapons versus like their beaks, because they don't take spreading their lycanthropy lightly. That being said, oh, still got it wrong. Bam, did it right way. The corrupted were-ravens are gonna be like, they're gonna be messed up. They're gonna be like, I'm debating on some features. They're gonna be like crimson instead of black. They're gonna be crimson ravens essentially. I really like that name. I may have to use that for something else too. They're gonna be crimson ravens. They're gonna be all this red color. They may have some black in there as well, but they're gonna be this red and gray kind of color because the forest is red and gray. And they're gonna have like twigs sticking out where their feathers should be, and they're gonna look less. They'll be the size of like a humanoid creature, but they're gonna be less humanoid. If you're looking at the video, you can see what I'm already doing it. You can see the my camera's not wide enough to do all this. You can see the inspiration here, how it's gonna be. It's gonna kind of go on all fours. I don't know if it's gonna have arms yet. Maybe some of them will, maybe some of them won't, because it's going to be in varying stages of corruption and things like that. There's going to be like some crazy looking boils and muscles popping out. They may have leaves instead of feathers, or leaves that appear to be feathers and things like that, or a mixture of both. Some of them may have wooden beaks. They're going to kind of go like hunched over. Some of them will go on all fours, like using their wings to kind of crawl forward instead of just walking. Some of them may not even have flight because they can't, because of the corruption and influence that they've lost their wings. And they're going to have to face these things. I'm going to have to find a stat block for fighting these guys. I may use just regular were-raven stat blocks. I'm not sure yet. That's something I'm still debating on. They're going to fight a few of these. I may sprinkle in some other stuff. I'm not sure. Some other denizens of the wood. It kind of depends on how they handle a few of these guys. We're doing 5th level, so I'm not going to throw like a giant horde of these guys on to the players, because I don't want to kill them, and I don't want to take them down too low before the final boss, because the final boss is going to be pretty rough. The final boss is going to be an Eldritch Horror, I believe. That's what we're going with. Let me set my stuff over here, my notes and stuff over here. Put them on the other side, so that I can pull the book out. Good. Let me throw my pencil on it down too. There we go. So the Eldritch Horror, I'll flip here. I'm gonna switch back to my full screen camera real quick. And again, the people watching the video are gonna get a little treat, but the podcast people, you don't worry, you're not going to be left out. I will describe. I'm not going to attempt to describe what the I think I've been calling it Eldritch Horror, what the unspeakable horror is going to look like. I won't describe what it looks like in the book because it's rather difficult to describe for me, anyways. I will, however, tell you what our version will look like. Now, this baddie here is the unspeakable horror from the book. Ours is literally going to be a giant raven, a giant corrupted raven. Now, you've seen that you've seen the guy there that was in the other picture, the corrupted raven. I think it's from Adventures Dark and Deep. I think it's called a Shrieker is what somebody said. So you've seen this guy, and you've seen what he looks like. You know, I'm going to use that similar aesthetic for this giant raven. It's going to be a bit different. It's going to be a bit more menacing, and it obviously is going to be a bit more powerful. Now, this is where I said we may go ahead and roll up this monster because it's got some roll tables. It's got some customization. That's kind of why I went with this. I was debating on just taking a straight up dragon and reskinning it as a giant raven because it has the wings and the flight and the claws and all, you know, blah, 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 blah. But I got to thinking more and more. I got to looking at dragon stats, and I kind of want to run a lower, not a low level game, but a lower level game. So we're looking at level 5 because I think they can handle, I think 4 level 5 players can handle what's going to happen. Hopefully. If not, they can have some NPC help. I'm not going out with the intent to get a TPK, a total party kill, but if it happens, it happens. Anyways, so this after they fight a few of these were-ravens and possibly a few of these other denizens that I may decide to throw in here and there, it's going to be relatively small fry. Just some stuff to get their feet wet, so to speak, and to kind of hopefully get them creeped out. I'm going to throw in some environmental things, like where they have to roll dex checks because like vines or limbs are grasping at them or something like that. Because this is not just, when this wave washes away, this is not just the people that change. Like this, they find out that this town is messed up. Like this town is destroyed. This town has some trees growing out of the roofs of buildings. You know, there's holes in the side of buildings where clusters of vines have just creeped out and spread towards the ground. You know, there's an entire building covered in moss, and when one of these corrupted ravens crashes through it to the ground, the whole building just collapses into a giant pile of moss. That's a good idea. Maybe a spore cloud goes up from this moss, and they have to roll con checks to see. Like I said, I'm not trying to kill them, so I may not make those. If they roll that stuff, I may not make it too high, because I don't want to kill I definitely don't want to kill them right away. Till, you know, if they die fighting the boss, hey, you know, what can we do about it? But the whole thing will coalesce in this giant raven come crashing down. Come crashing through this town. I haven't decided if he's going to have flight yet, or if he's just going to like come crawling over the top of these buildings, you know, and coming after him. And it's I keep saying giant. I need to look at the sizes and make sure. I don't know if I'm going to have it actually be a giant creature. It's going to be big. It's going to be like the size of a dragon, like a young dragon. So I have to look at that classification, and we'll figure that out. Anyways, for our purposes right now, I'm describing it as giant because that's the way I'm picturing it in my head. But it's going to come crashing through, and it's going to be this just gnarly looking. This is going to be the worst of the messed up ravens. Like, you know, I described the whole like bulbous muscles sticking out, and excuse me. I described like the muscles sticking out and things like that, and having the having all these weird like, I forgot how to describe them. Just these sores and boils and stuff coming out, and it's its shoulders are hunched, and it like the way it's crawling forward, it's just like its muscles are rippling, but they're rippling in just like a weird, strange way. It looks like there's strength there, but there's something wrong too. Like it's definitely not. It's definitely been twisted. Maybe it's like the picture. If you're on the Twitch and you see the picture, how it has several different eyes. Maybe it's got a whole bunch of different eyes in its head. I'm thinking of if I take its flight away, I'm thinking of having its wings just be these big wooden skeletal wings, like the wings, skeletal wings, but they're big. They're made out of wood, they appear to be made out of wood, just sticking out of its back. And it's got them spread wide as it's crashing over these buildings and crawling through these buildings, coming after the players. And it's got its talons, but like maybe one of them's like a hook from a bone or something. I don't know. I'm still like every day thinking about it in my head. Like, how am I going to describe this thing? And it may all change in the moment. It may have a great idea when I start describing it. It may be completely different than what I'm saying right now. But that's what they're going to face. That's going to be the final boss. And this thing has like bone blade attacks in the book. It's got a bile body, which I'm thinking about using. It's one of the body compositions is oozing organs, and I may have organs hanging out of it, and it's got bile. It may have bile breath where it sprays this like acid or necrotic or something damage towards the players. It's got the attack. It can hex and things like that. And I'm hoping that they're still strong enough to face this thing, but that it's going to tax pretty much what they have left in order to take it down. Here's the kicker, and here's the fun part, and here's how we're going to kind of bring it all to a close, I think. Now, everything changes depending on the players and the decisions they make and the characters they're playing and stuff like that. So everything's up in the air, and things have to be ad-libbed and changed and stuff like that on the fly. The goal is right now, though, to take, at the end of it all, whether it be death for the players, or whether they vanquish this thing and think that they've, I won't say saved the town, because this is the fall of Raven's Roost, and obviously it has fallen already. But whether they vanquish this force and push this forest back in this manner, whatever it may be, beaten, battered, bloodied, half dead, mostly dead, maybe some of them are dead, whatever it is, I think we're going to end as they either stand there over the body of this, if there's a body left, I may have it melt, I don't know. But as they stand there on their field of victory, or their spectral spirits stand there on the field of death, being absorbed by the forest, they're going to be sucked back and realize that they've been standing in some place. I haven't decided yet whether it's going to be a castle, a temple, a library. Their consciousness is going to be sucked back, and they're going to realize that this entire time they've been standing in front of this big tapestry draped on this wall, or this big mural painted on this wall, and they're looking at it, and it's something that could come to pass. It's a prophecy that if something's not done, this is what will happen, and this is the beginning of what Raven's Roost is, the beginning of what will happen to the world if something isn't done, if they don't find a way to quell the forest, to hold the forest back, to stop the forest. And that's where the session will end. Them fully alive and fully okay, standing at, maybe that'll mess with their heads, maybe they need sanity checks. If things ever happen again, if these players ever play again, maybe they're insane. Maybe they have been taken by the wood. Maybe the wood has consumed their essence as it has killed them. And this is the way that they are processing being taken as denizens of the wood, as adventurers, as good adventurers sent to save a town. Yet they've been turned into pawns of the Crimson Wood. That may be how we ended. I don't know. Like I said, it all depends on how the players play their characters and what happens at the end. Are they dead? Are they severely injured? You know, who knows? It all has to play out. It's all going to be up to the dice. It's all going to be about how the dice roll. That being said, I am Nathan. This has been Dimension 119, and I had a lot of fun prepping with you guys. I didn't type very much in the Google Doc other than copying and pasting all that. But the good news is I have a podcast episode, I have a recorded video, and I have a Twitch video that I can go back and review if I need to get these ideas back to actually create the Google Doc for the session. I now have a better idea of what I'm doing next month in November. So we have one more month to get there. I now have a better idea of what I'm doing in November for this session. And I now have a better idea of what I can do of the description I can put together to send to the person that's coordinating the games and getting players for the games. So I really appreciate you helping me out. Podcast people, you know that you're fixing to get the same spiel I'm fixing to do right now again in a minute, as kind of the outro plays. You guys on Twitch will not hear the podcast outro because it's on the podcast, unless you decide to go listen to the podcast, which would be really cool too. I'd really appreciate it. And I'd really appreciate a review of the podcast or the VOD or the Twitch video or whatever it may be. I would appreciate the feedback. Let me know if this is something you like, this is something you want to see again, this is something you want to keep doing. Let me know if this is something you might want to participate in with me so that I can get your opinions and then I can get your help with prepping a session or world building. I love brainstorming with people. So if you need help, if you want help, if you just feel like you want to be creative and want to brainstorm a session, let's do it. Hit me up. You can search Dimension 119 on pretty much any social media site. We've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, I've got Twitter, I've got a Discord channel. If you get on any of those and check the description or the bio, you'll find the Linktree link, and it will take you to all of our different pages and all of our different things that we have. It'll also take you to several different podcast links. It'll bring you back to the Twitch channel. It'll take you to the YouTube channel. Check all of it out. I would really appreciate you checking it all out. And if this is something you enjoyed, share it with your friends. I enjoy talking about D&D. I enjoy playing D&D. Maybe we can play it together someday. Podcast people, I appreciate you listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I give all the same sentiments to you. You will hear all the links to the social media stuff here in a minute. I'm not sure if we'll do this every time we record a podcast where we stream and record. We may, especially when it's prep stuff like this, because I'm trying to, like I said, get that practice in. But we'll see. I'm not sure yet. That being said, I am Nathan with Dimension 119. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I will see you in another dimension.